I'm going to speak English. My name's Andrew Phillips, and I'm the director in charge of the project in David's office, and I'm going to just describe briefly our investigation of the Congress Centre. The Congress Centre is the large block on the top right. We've been interested in first looking at the Congress Centre to understand the typology of the Congress Centre. It has a particular presence in Spain, the Congress Centre. There are many different types, and we wanted to understand what the options were. This represents the whole mass, and one approach to a Congress Centre is to consider the auditoriums. This project needs to have two auditoriums, one for about 1,200 people and another for about 500. One approach is to consider them as black boxes, so rooms, but very closed rooms where one is outside and then goes into the room. And in a Congress Centre, the difference between the space outside the room and inside the room is part of our concern, was the idea that actually in a Congress Centre, much of the activity actually happens outside the room also, where there may be an exhibition, feria, and so there's often quite a lot of movement between the rooms. Perhaps we wanted to explore the idea of making a little bit more out of the space beyond the rooms. This next plan has another idea where the auditoriums are very clearly identifiable within a big open space, which is the black sort of room, and then all the support spaces surround that hall. So the back of house functions, as it were, make a wall around the project. If we reversed that idea, we came to this pattern where the auditoriums, instead of being positive blocks, became the reverse. They became courtyards in themselves. So instead of going into a closed room, the idea is perhaps that you go into an open room. Well, ultimately, we've come to a mixture of the last two options. And perhaps one of the most significant parts of the project has become the space between the rooms, the space between the auditoriums, the circulation space and the exhibition space. The thought that perhaps that could be an identifiable space in itself, and the hallway, the place that you first enter, is not seen so much as a peripheral place, but actually the heart of the Congress Centre is actually the space where you begin your visit, and the space that you return to after you've listened to a talk or a lecture. So this is a simple diagram of this idea of the Congress Centre, which imagines that the Congress rooms become part of the citadel wall, as was described. But we developed this idea a little bit more. This is a diagram that shows those three main auditoriums and the support space surrounding a central hall, courtyard. And then we developed it a little further to add some complexity and actually make the rooms work a little bit better and make them more identifiable. So there are three main auditoriums, and it's very important that when you visit the Congress Centre, you would know where to go to your the talk or whatever's going on in the Congress room. So the blocks become slightly more visible, and they project into the space, and also the central hall courtyard becomes a little bit more complex. And I think it's interesting that it's a theme that seems to be developing through almost all of the projects that we've seen today, this idea of open space and public space and courtyards and more closed spaces. This just shows the pattern of circulation where all the rooms are accessed functionally from behind within the wall and the central courtyard space. And then these are the final plans. We became more and more interested in this idea that perhaps a Congress Center, this new type of Congress Center, could try and relax the demarcation between being inside the hall and being outside. As I said before, it's not unusual for people to attend a lecture and then move out of the room halfway through the lecture and go and meet someone, go and see part of the exhibition and then rejoin the lecture. So we were interested in perhaps there not being such a strong line between inside the room and outside the room. So the auditoriums, in a way, have become smaller courtyards. There's a large courtyard in the middle joining up the buildings, and then within the floor plates, there are the auditoriums have become courtyards in themselves, overlooked by the circulation space surrounding them. And perhaps there being a good degree of transparency between the inside the auditoriums and outside. The Congress Center is an enormous building. It's 120 meters long, and it also has to cope with a slope on the site. This section shows the gentle slope of the roof, which is generally about 12 to 16 meters above the ground level. But the building is so big it needs to cope with a change in levels outside the building. So there's a very what we've described as a landscape of terraces within the building, and depending on where you enter, let me go back to this plan. You enter the project at different levels. So the main entrance is in the center here, which is halfway up the building. There's another entry from a lower plaza, which comes in at a lower level. And then between these different terraces are very big, generous landscape staircases. So it doesn't feel a language of interior architecture, more like a landscape which is coming through the building, and very grand stairs. Each platform, each terrace can become a place to have a smaller activity or an exhibition space.